helping you with Acorn and RISC computing.
Good afternoon. I think some of my thunder may have been stolen by Andrew. I'm sorry for that. Maybe lightning will strike twice this afternoon. Excuse me if I'm blinking. I've got a cataract coming off in May, so all these lovely bright lights are quite difficult. Andrew actually wrote my speech for me because he's put a lovely article in archive, so you'll be able to fact check me if I don't read this correctly. Most of this is here. Again, due to all the lovely drugs that the NHS has given me, which have worked very well, my memory is absolutely appalling. And it wasn't helped by the COVID last year. Thank you all for coming. And thank you so much as well, those of you that came to the Southwest show and inquired after, well, where is that bloke, Richard? Why isn't he here? There were some lovely comments that people made to my daughter, so thank you ever so much for all your well wishes. I am back. I have got plenty of energy now. So I've been beta testing the Wi-Fi that we're going to talk about and that I'm going to show you. Some of the icons are already up on the screen there. But to lead off, I'm just going to do a very short bit for Orpheus, which is my company. It's never enough to do a full 40 minutes. So Orpheus has been going, as you know. I took over after Paul passed away. We've been doing broadband, and now we're also doing telephone. So we're doing VoIP. BT, as you may be aware, I'm sure you must have seen something in the press, they are gradually turning off the analogue exchanges. They are tempering how they're doing it now, and that's a new bit of information that we've had in the last couple of weeks. They will be a little bit more caring, which is nice. But if you want to get ahead of the game, whether or not I provide you with broadband, that doesn't make any difference. If it does, obviously I'm a lot happier, but we can now do VoIP, and so long as you have at least a reasonable service on fibre to the cabinet, on the copper core, or you've got fibre to the premises, which is the lovely ultra fast that I know quite a few of you have, then we can certainly do VoIP for you. That will preserve your standard telephone number that you've most probably had for 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 decades, possibly longer. But you can get to keep that. There's flexibility to it. If any of you call me on my office landline number 01702 462 385, it will come through to my mobile phone. I don't actually have a physical phone attached even to my network now. It's done over Wi-Fi on an app, and we can provide you with that app. I can provide you with little bits of kit that can be necessary to keep your old analogue phones going, especially if you bought them last year. No one wants to waste their money. We can get that sorted for you. So come and talk to me on the stand about VoIP. I can go into more bits and pieces. Have a look at www.orpheusinternet.co.uk, and you will see across the top where there's a little orange bar with buttons on. One of them says VoIP, V-O-I-P. So Voice over Internet Protocol. So we're doing those services now. We might even save you some money over what you're paying BT. And obviously that's an agreeable thing for all of us to do. Thank you for listening to that. And now we'll talk about RISC developments. As Andrew has written for me here, first quarter of this year has been one of our busiest yet. In January, we posted a new version of IRIS, with various user interface improvements and changes that we've had from all of our wonderful beta testers. Although I can't quite see, can I have a show of hands who's got IRIS? Hopefully that was about half. It certainly looked like it. So you guys have been with us for a reasonable amount of time, and you've seen it improve. You've seen the things that we can do. I will demonstrate IRIS because that's all part and parcel of going onto the internet, which is something that this Pine book is actually quite good at. So we've moved on from there. We've got another upgrade to come to a newer version of WebKit, which is what the Iris browser is based upon. Every time we do one of these changes, it's quite a lot of work, because sometimes the next newest, best version of someone's software actually we go backwards, and it's not quite so good, and then we have to sort it out in the RISC OS world to make it better, so that it's at least as fast, if not faster, and will do more things for you. But you want to do Waitrose, Metro Bank, Tesco's, we can do that now with Iris. So a very nice, fairly full-featured. That is coming. I will come back to Iris towards the end of what we're talking about here. February was quite a big month. Southwest show, and the week before the show, not that I was taking too much attention, but we finally got our Wi-Fi, which is based on our TCP/IP stack. That was working, and it really was, I think for the first time, when Iris came out and Andrew and I were testing it before we had beta testers, oh gosh, we've got a lot of work to do with this. Andy Vore, who's worked on the TCP/IP stack, he has contributed to the rule bounty with the paint. He's done code for that. He does a lot of stuff for us. Absolutely lovely guy. You may have met him on occasions at the Southwest show in the last couple of years. And he popped this over to us and said, here, have a play. What a pleasure it was. We really felt that it was a massive step up, and considering it was if you like, the very first version that we got working, it was a pleasure to work with it. There was some things wrong, but we didn't have anywhere near as much hassle as we did with Iris. And it was literally almost out of the box. And he fixed a couple of the things that had stopped us doing it, and all of a sudden, bingo, there it was. So a really talented programmer, and we are very pleased to have him. We also have encryption with that version of Wi-Fi, and with the SDIO that RISC-OS Developments paid for the work to be done a few years ago, we have it on the Pinebook Pro. Now, the thing about the Wi-Fi, it wasn't just about getting Wi-Fi to work on RISC OS. Very important, that is the main thrust of it, but we also felt that it was about time. The ACON networking has been around for 30 plus years. It was done at a time before Wi-Fi really even existed, I believe. And this is part and parcel of, if you like, a little bit of joined up thinking. We had to do the TCP/IP stack. You'll know that we launched that a few years ago. That was done by one of our commercial partners. They funded that for us, and they had a couple of things that they said, we want this particular version of BSD because it has the security options in there. And as we looked at it, way back then, even though Wi-Fi was a bare inkling in Andrew's eye or mine, encryption, you need that for Wi-Fi. Okay, so we had the TCP/IP stack, that's come along. Then we've looked at Wi-Fi, and we've got encryption with it because it's already based in the TCP/IP stack. We didn't have to write extra modules and codes. There are various bits that have to be brought out. I'm sure Andy will correct my very loose descriptions there. And this is why we did the OpenBSD stack. But how are we going to handle that? How are we going to make use of this? We knew that we had to have some software just specifically because if you have Wi-Fi, you want to know or you want to see what Wi-Fi networks you have around you. When you're at home, maybe you only have the one. But you might decide that you're going to go down to a nice country pub for lunch. It's a group of RISC-OS enthusiasts. You're all going to go there. You're going to take machines. And if you've got Wi-Fi, well, you need to connect to the pub Wi-Fi. So you need to be able to see it. And if you're out and about or you live in a block of flats, you're going to see a whole host of them. So again, I will show you some of that when we do the practical demonstration with the Pinebook Pro in just a moment. But we needed to be able to control that. We needed to be able to make it sensible. So we asked Andy, would you like to do a network manager for us? And I can't remember, you most probably saw the network manager at the Southwest show. I don't think we've shown it to you before then. I honestly can't remember. So we have various things to do with that, and I think it's most probably going to be easier to show you that rather than just reading my notes here. So let me put this down. And let's have a play with the Wi-Fi. Now, it's at the moment, it's got two icons. We have the Network Manager, which if I click on, will take me into today's profile, which I've called Bradford, for where we are. And then we also have the little green icon you can see down the bottom, which is going to show you Wi-Fi networks. And we can see Cedar Court Bradford's admin one with a padlock, thank goodness. Another Cedar Bradford admin, Cedar Court that I'm connected to the internet on. In this particular instance, not very secure because there's no password on it. And then we've got 4 Dratec. Now, that's just the router that I've got here. I wanted to be able to show you multiple ones. I wasn't sure how many we've got here. We've got a thing called GoLuck. I have no idea, and Loop Conference, but they're all Wi-Fi. And you can see to a greater or lesser extent, they have a signal strength indicator. One of the problems I would highlight, and this affects macOS, Windows, iPhones, Android phones. Currently, as far as I can make out, there is no standard for how to measure accurately Wi-Fi strength. Different routers will have different amounts of Wi-Fi coming out. A mesh system will have a better coverage. So it's always an approximation. And sometimes when you see just one little bar, it seems to work fine. You might go to another position in a different building and you get one little mark and it doesn't work at all. It really does depend on the transmitting and the receiving, not only of the access point. In this instance, I'm sitting 3 feet away from the Dratec. So I would expect to see fairly good signal strength, but not necessarily. It just depends. So bear that in mind. This is something that happens with mobile phones, and that's why sometimes you may be able to hear someone because you're working with a big transmitter, but your phone is too far away and somebody can't hear you. It can be very frustrating, especially when I'm on a support call. So here we have these different networks, and down the bottom, having done the menu, we've got a status, and this is the Wi-Fi information for Cedar Court. Approximate signal strength 41%, it's on channel 108, it's 5 gigahertz. As you can see, no security at all. And there's the access point's MAC address for the network point there. So that information is there when you are live on a particular Wi-Fi network. So if I change the Wi-Fi network, and I'm going to go to the Dratec 2.4, it's asking me for a password. You can show the key. If it will behave. Live demonstrations, there we go. So there is a password that I made up a couple of days ago. I'm going to say, okay. And you'll see down the bottom, it's got a slightly pinky colour. It's saying joining. It's then showing a signal strength in green, and you may have seen just briefly, there was a little no entry sign. So we're trying to let you know what the Wi-Fi is doing. There's nothing worse than sitting there going, has it connected? Hasn't it connected? And it's gone from a state of off to on. So we've got the icons on there. And the lovely gentleman, Richard Hallis, has designed these icons specifically for us. So we are now connected to the Draytech 2.4. And if I give a status, you can see that the signal strength has gone up considerably. It still suggests it's only 85%. I'm not quite sure how we could get this router and this laptop any closer together, but that's one of those things. And it will also show me what the DHCP address is. So all of these things you are most probably familiar with a wired TCP/IP connection, an Ethernet connection from a RISC PC 600 onwards. If you've added those cards in the back of the machine, you know that it has to have an IP address, it has to have a net mask, and it needs to know where it's going to go out. So you have those things there. Now, you can, if you want to, set it manually if you need a static IP address. And there is the actual, again, there is the wireless network giving the information. That's the Cedar Court one, and hasn't picked up the 2.4. Let's put that in. So I can add that network into this long list if I want to. And it's just appeared down the bottom, overwritten slightly, so I'll report that back to Andy and we'll get that sorted out. And that's the IP address for the SDIO Wi-Fi device built into the Pinebook Pro. This is for the USB Ethernet adapter. And I'm most probably going to mess this machine up. I think we have a small fault on my particular Pinebook because I find it very difficult to operate with the trackpad. Let's just... So I've plugged in the USB Ethernet adapter. If it behaves, there we are. Can you see that that's now changed from a greyed out item? It's now got some colour. You can see the green and the amber LEDs there. So that's now active. If I plug the network cable in, you can see on the actual adapter, the LEDs there are flashing, and it's come up and it said, yes, I've now got an IP address of 1.11 because this particular router is on 192.168.1.1. So that has picked that up automatically. So at the moment, this machine has two connections, a Wi-Fi to the router and also a network cable to it. So if you were using this as a base station office machine, you could come in, you could go out, and you can connect on the fly for that. So here we have the Wi-Fi networks again. There's the Cedar Court that we know is active to the internet. And it's joining, it's seen it, not quite there yet, and now we've got a green icon saying that we've got a connection and we've got internet there. So I will chance my hand and I say I don't like the trackpad on this one. So that's me. I'm the problem with that, not the actual machine. So I've now asked that to do a network connection to pollux.genesis.org.uk, which is the database that any of my customers have all their information on. Obviously, I won't display them on the screen. We don't want to upset GDPR. If we have enough signal strength, hopefully it should sort itself out and go online. I'm not sure quite if this is going to work. So to give it a better chance, I'm going to disconnect the Ethernet cable. And if I go back into the Bradford profile that I've set up for today, eventually what should happen is this USB Ethernet adapter here, there we are, it's showing that it now does not have an IP address, and it should eventually go grey. It's decided not to. Let's try again. There we are. So sorry for that, but that's now, again, we've gone back live on the internet, and we've done all of this without actually having to restart at any point the RISC OS machine. Something that has been a little bit more difficult to achieve in the past with the old style. If you wanted to change your IP range on your Ethernet connection, you had no option but to put all the information in, save it, come out, do a reset, restart, which of course means all the programs come out, and you're back to square one of turning the machine on. So this is all part and parcel of what we wanted to achieve with the network manager and the Wi-Fi and the TCP/IP stack. Well, live demonstrations on beta software. Sorry for that. I will have to restart the machine now. How am I doing for time? Right, while this is restarting then, I'll put it back on and we'll get it back up on the screen. But does anyone have any questions that they would like to ask me? I can just see a hand that's come up.
Am I right in thinking that the network manager will replace the configuration plugin for the network?
That's the idea. But we have left the old network manager in there. So if you wanted to go and use that, there might be a reason for it. So certainly at the moment, they're both sitting there side by side. You can see I've got it to auto start and it's come back on. If I do the usual, go to boot and go to network, internet is there, access is there, Ethernet is there, but they're all greyed out at the moment. They're not actually in use at all. Oh, is it? Sorry. Thank you. Yes. Should be up in a second. There we are. Sorry about that. So yes, internet configuration, as you can see at the moment, it's all still there. and you could turn it on. I will have a play with that in private at some point and see how badly that breaks the network manager or whatever. But certainly I think Andrew has supplied it on the Pinebook Pro because he's had a little, with the Pine tools, you've had the ability to do things with networking before it starts. So he's had it turned off and it's done it there. This, if you like, is the next stage further on. And I think maybe I'm slightly biased, but the ability to have all of these different profiles I find quite useful. I'm just going to say edit profile rather than activate it. So this is the one that I use when I finish at the end of the day. It's got Wi-Fi in there, and it will automatically connect to my Genesis 3 network that I have at home as a mesh system. Obviously that has zero strength because 4.5 hours away it doesn't reach that far. But you can activate it. Let's actually do that. Let's pretend that I have gone home. I say activate profile, and it's changed to my home profile. The name changes on the icon bar, and it's going to sit and say joining, because obviously it cannot join that Wi-Fi network. I've seen another hand move here.
We can see on the icon bar there's flashing. It seems to be possibly when it's receiving beacon messages. I don't know if is that an artifact from there, or are you seeing that?
I think that is the
well?
artifact of the setup we've got
Fine.
here. It hasn't been doing that when I'm on the stand.
Okay.
So yes, I've just been manfully ignoring it. Can we take one from this side, Charles? Yes. Person at the back will come to you.
Thank you. I was just going to ask you, is Photodesk a layer-based program, rather like Photoshop?
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Gentleman at the back. That looks like Chris. No, sorry.
Hello, yeah, Dave Higton.
Sorry, Dave.
Okay. Does it do IPv6?
Let's go back to the profile which is up for today. I have got no way of testing IPv6. I know that you have done testing for us. We'll let this go back to Bradford and connect up, and IPv6. So this software, not quite this version, because I got 2 updates yesterday that fixed another problem to do with saving a log file. But the version before this, with some of these icons, is available on RISC Development's projects tab. So go to riscosdev.com, click on projects, scroll down. The latest TCP/IP stack is there. That has the Wi-Fi driver embedded in it. So if you don't use Wi-Fi, it's there, ready and waiting. And to bring that out, if you make use of the network manager, so maybe when you get back, Dave, if you've got Wi-Fi working on IPv6, you would be so kind as to say, it don't work, or it does work. Hopefully it does work, and Andy will be very pleased. Thank you. Any other questions? No? Well, thank you ever so much. It's been a real pleasure to be able to be here today and see you all. Come and see me on the stand if you have any other questions.